Hello there. My name is rmocuta, and I'm going to be going over POP3S and SMTPS. This is for System Server Security 2 or CYBR 4220. Now, you may ask, what is POP3S? POP3S is an application layer internet standard protocol. It is used so that email clients can retrieve their mail from a mail server. The way that POP works is that you get the mail from the mail server, and once you download this mail from the mail server um, to your local computer, the email will disappear from the mail server. So once it's downloaded to your local computer, the email will be removed from the server. POP3S came from POP3, obviously. POP3 uses the SSL protocol, but POP3S will use a TLS protocol, the more secure, updated protocol. POP3 uses port 110, and POP3S will use port 995. Dovecot. So we're going to review what is Dovecot and what it does. So Dovecot is available for Linux, and it is going to be used for Linux in our project. Dovecot at its core is a security mail delivery agent. The benefits that Dovecot offers includes the following. Uses little memory. It has a very quick setup. It's scalable and very cost effective. Some key features that it actually does have. It is one of the highest performing IMAP servers. It's standard compliant. It's also in a weird way self-healing, and what I mean by self-healing is that it will try to fix problems that it notices, such as a messed up index. The problem will be logged, and it can be reviewed later in case it doesn't fix itself. It's also very admin friendly. Error messages are very simple to read, and this will help admins out a lot. So it makes it into like understandable errors that admins will understand. The user authentication is also very flexible in Dovecot. It supports authentication databases and many other mechanisms. And there's an easy migration based on the server you set up using Dovecot, whether it's IMAP or POP3S. So here are some hardening recommendations for POP3S, and this is going to be using Dovecot. POP3 should be disabled alongside with any version of POP. You should only be using POP3S in the port that is used for POP3S. As we reviewed earlier, that port number is 995. Obviously, we need to keep Dovecot updated to the most secure version. If we don't update it, it'll be vulnerable to many attacks. I believe the last attack was actually vulnerable to the last update was vulnerable to buffer overflow attacks. So we want to make sure we keep it up to date so that we will be secure. In Dovecot, we only want to allow port 995 for POP3S. So make sure to enable POP3S and only this. As you can see here, we want to set the PEM encoded TLS/SSL certificate and private key. Make sure only the root account will have access to that. You can also set up many different certificates for different IPs and protocols. You can set up passwords to create critical files. SSL verbosity is needed to be enabled so that you can so if you have problems with TLS and SSL security, this can be noisy because it will alert from dropped connections. So if you do have problems with the TLS or SSL security, you will get a notification on it even if the connection gets dropped. So it could be noisy, but you might want this turned on. You can also enable client certificate verification / authentication. This will require clients to present a valid SSL certificate. You can set up a PAM authentication service in Dovecot. All you have to do is uncomment the driver PAM section. This will allow Linux accounts to log into Dovecot, but you should only allow members of in a specific group to log on, such as admins. Another suggestion is to change the mailbox locations. and postfix will support many different storage formats actually. Make sure that TLS/SSL is enabled and required. Dovecot also has the ability to enable IMAPs, and we should also be testing the SMTP authentication using Dovecot. And that'll perfectly bring us into our next slide. SMTPS. So SMTPS is it's a protocol, but before SMTPS there was SMTP. That stood for the Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. In essence, it sends plain text messages between servers. It will use the TCP protocol to deliver the message. It is used to send out mail from client to server, whereas POP3 will retrieve mail from server. So this is different than POP3S. This is where it sends out email from client to server. SMTP is the predecessor of SMTPS. SMTPS is obviously the more secure version, encrypting traffic and using a different port. Like we have seen for other protocols, SMTPS will have the updated TLS protocol. The original SMTP port is port 25, and SMTPS has been used at several ports, but the port that is most generally used today is port 587. So for Windows, we're going to have to use the ISS. And here are some hardening recommendations. We want to limit the size of permitted messages. This will help protect against denial of service attacks or distributed denial of service attacks or DDoS or DOS. It is important to note that this should not be limited too much because your mail will not be able to pass if you limit the messages, the size of the message. Sorry. It's just like I said, the total size should still be limited, just to make sure that it is secure and you can protect against attacks. You should try to require to use TLS to connect to SMTPS and not SSL, since TLS is the more secure version. Restrict any access that people shouldn't be, certain groups, as we went over earlier. We want to limit the total messages per one connection. This will also help against DOS attacks or DDoS attacks. It'll also help against spamming or any kind of flood recipients. If you want to limit the total messages per one connection, this will help also protect against spam. Like if there are over 50 recipients added to a mail, this email can be added to spam. The number you limit, will depend on the size of your organization. If you have more than 50 recipients to an email, like often, obviously you want to let that go. But if normally you have 5 to 10 recipients per email, then when you have 20, let's say, you can mark it as spam. Relaying should be closed. With the relay being open, it will allow the server to accept any mail from any server and allow to send mail to any server. So we want to close the relay to prevent the further spamming. Now postfix is what we're going to be using for Linux. And postfix is a program on Linux, and this will route and deliver email to accounts external on the system. There are several features that postfix offers. Gmail authentication is one of them. You should also put the config file under lockdown and set up a password to edit it. Some other features that it supports are SMTP server support, SMTP over TLS, DNS reply filter, delivery status filter, junk mail control, TLS encryption and authentication, and many, many more features. Here are some hardening recommendations that we have for SMTPS, and we are going to be using postfix. You want to enable TLS. This is the mandatory encryption. You want to use SMTPS over TLS. Make all the data come through that protocol. Make sure, obviously, as every other thing, you want to make sure you have the most recent and up-to-date version of postfix. Logging all activities is great in case you are attacked. You have that log to look back on and respond or write reports on. You want client certificate verification. You only want authentication over TLS. Server access control. And certificate verifications. You want there to be certificate verifications for the following: for the mandatory server, the secure server, or certificate fingerprinting. These are my references. I have 2 pages of this, and this is the first page. And here is the second page of references. That's about it. I hope you guys have enjoyed my quick presentation about these services that we're going to be installing. If you guys have any suggestions, please let me know in the comment section, and hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Bye-bye.